regions that are beneficiaries of this project, Upper East and Upper West. The Honorable Deputy Minister for the Interior, I think this is the interior that we are in, so we are actually in your space, and permit me, because I haven't personally congratulated you, to congratulate you on your role in the ministry now at the Royal Kings. The Chief Director of the Ministry of National Security, a good friend of mine and an important actor in this process. Let me also acknowledge flights being affected, the Ministry of Local Governments, who are a key partner. Honorable Municipal District Chief Executives, representatives of RCCs, the Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council, who are an important ally and contributor to this particular process, and indeed a strong part of the backbone of what this program is trying to achieve. And let me also pause to congratulate Ghana. The idea of a National Peace Council, done with some of the work from UNDP in the early days, is actually an example that has been exported to many other countries. So congratulations to Ghana and to all of you. To service chiefs present, heads of agencies and departments, civil society actors present, traditional rulers, women leaders, youth leaders, members of the media, and of course my colleagues within the UN system, particularly UNDP and UNFPA, who are leading this program, but also to the other agencies who, when Melody was speaking about the collaboration and integration of this work, there are so many other things that are going on that all feed into this process. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and particularly thank you to the two young poets. You are an embodiment of, I guess, the confidence that is the outcome that we're looking for. That is impact. When two young people are able to stand confidently and talk about issues, in one case, being a young woman and striving for a better society, and in the other, an important story about let 1,000 flowers bloom. It is not about one idea, it's about many ideas. And part of peace is also the tolerance to accommodate multiple ideas. Thank you for your recitals. Please give them a round. I'm honored to be here, and it's always a privileged position for me to be here. The real work gets done by a number of the agencies on the ground. I get the privilege to come and say a few words at the beginning. But this Peace Building Fund launch is particularly significant because Ghana has never benefited from the Peace Building Fund before. And part of the argument about this was linked to the fact that Ghana is peaceful. So you see, sometimes the thing that you have can be your worst enemy. And we have argued, not just in this case, but with other funds, that actually the existence of peace does not arrive by itself. It happens because people really work hard at making it happen. And so penalizing them for their hard work isn't the right way to go, first of all. And two, it doesn't recognize the changing landscape we live in the Sahel, the changing issues that are affecting communities, and the vulnerability. I never say that Ghana is fragile. I want national security to hear me very well. Ghana is vulnerable but not fragile. There are strong institutions in Ghana, and this is the core message that comes certainly from my office. And our role is to support Ghana to remain peaceful, to protect that crown jewel of peace and security and democracy and openness, and shine it as a light out to the rest of the sub-region and the continent. And so in that context, the Peace Building Fund, this is a welcome development for Ghana and for a new way of thinking, particularly in the context of the Secretary General's focus now on prevention. There's an old adage that says the stitch in time. Thank you very much, because effectively, if we prevent conflict from coming to Ghana and build outwards and actually shine this peace outwards, then we won't need the other 8 stitches. And so investing in prevention, which is at the core of the Secretary General's new agenda for peace, is critical, particularly at the time when globally we see so many conflicts that have engulfed the world, expending resources that should otherwise be spent enhancing the quality of humanity, being expended instead in the opposite direction in terms of destroying humanity. This is not the way to go. So we're really profoundly grateful to the Peace Building Fund, but I think more importantly to the communities and the 3 regions where we're going to work. But none of this is possible without coordination from the national level as well. And so having the national actors here present, having civil society present, having the regional ministers all represented, gives us the assurance that there is ownership around this program. And I want to congratulate those of you who spent a long time putting together this program. I keep deviating from the words they wrote for me. Sorry about that, but this is the way I speak. Despite its relative stability, Ghana faces considerable development challenges and hurdles. And these include localized conflict, primarily in some parts of the northern region, but not only in the northern region, contributing to strains in national peace and security. Uneven development and investment has perpetuated some kind of north-south divide. I know there's a lot of effort towards bridging that gap, but nonetheless, it exists. And there is limited resources. Ghana faces a number of challenges, which means when you have all these problems, you have to select some. So it is important that we are ensuring that we are supporting Ghana on its journey towards self-reliance, peace, security, a deepened democracy, and ultimately a Ghana that is beyond the need for aid and assistance. But of course, there are other bigger issues. Climate change continues to create and make its own havoc and create problems that are outside even the control of the government of Ghana, and therefore they must act on. There are activities taking place, particularly on the northern border in Burkina, in Niger, in Mali, which have a direct impact on issues here in the country and which impact people. There is a scourge of galamsey and illegal mining, not just in Ghana but across the sub-region, which is also a driver of insecurity and perpetuates some of the violence that we see on the ground. And so these are many, many issues that are affecting us. In addition, because of what's going on in the Sahel, Ghana is seen as a safe haven for some of those who are engaged both in banditry and violent extremism to come and rest here in your northern regions where they get a bit of respite. As a result, there are a lot of small arms that are proliferated across the community. And indeed, we are seeing an emerging industry of producing arms locally to feed this thirst for conflict. So in alignment, we are really taking a proactive stance, working with the National Peace Council, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, a raft of civil society partners, in collaboration with the ministries, particularly of Interior and National Security, and of course the security forces, to really strengthen this agenda for peace, focusing on prevention. If we take forward this agenda, then we don't need to keep going around fixing things. And instead, we build a place where there's trust instead of mistrust, inclusion instead of exclusion, wealth instead of marginalization, and the absence of violent extremism. It underscores this shift that we've been talking about towards an investment in prevention. A couple of points I would like to make. We must move away from silos, and it was interesting the questions that were raised earlier on about the interconnectedness of everything. If people have sustainable livelihoods, then they are too busy to even go into conflict. So sustainable livelihoods is a core part of building peace. If people have access to education, to water, to sanitation, to social protection, then they have the knowledge and skills and capabilities to live productive lives, and they don't have time for conflict. And therefore, in a sense, everything is interconnected. And we live in a world now where every facet of our lives is affected by the digital agenda. Every facet of our lives is affected by the need to grow and produce more and trade more effectively and fairly, and make sure that we have inclusive programs that involve women. Our cooperation framework really emphasizes this with the three areas, but also talks about looking at these integrated issues and making sure that we are connecting everything together, not working in boxes separately to achieve results. So it is within this context that this program of enhancing social cohesion and the social contract, which is the account or an agreement between people of Ghana about how they want to live together, that this is enhanced in a way that enables everybody to go, just like the poet said, and bloom like a flower. The program, you've already heard the objectives of the program: preventing and addressing root causes, and you know the root causes better than even the UN. So really working closely to identify those root causes and address them is going to be key. Strengthening local institutions to be able to deliver the kinds of mechanisms that ensure inclusive, responsive, and accountable governance, economic development, and quality service delivery. Empowering women and youth to be resilient and to be able to play a role in this. And let me congratulate UNFPA. It's this week, it wasn't last week. It's this week that a very comprehensive committee was launched to look at the role of youth in peace building. And this is a really powerful and important way to ensure that the voices of young people gain traction in the way that things move forward. And really ensuring that we also connect. I know there are traditional rulers that we connect with our traditional institutions and that we connect the values that bring us together, both through the traditional rulers and also the queen mothers and queens who play an important role in creating the social cohesion that we want. Let me also, although I've mentioned it, single out the Peace Council and the importance of the local structures of the Peace Council, which are meant to be inclusive. And I know that there's a lot of work going on to ensure that these include absolutely every segment of society. These are the early warning mechanisms that help us to understand when things are going wrong and build the basis upon which to build peace. And for this reason, this is your project. We're privileged in the UN system, and I think UNDP and UNFPA are here really to enable and facilitate. And if we're doing this right over the next few years, we should be almost in the shadows, and all of you should be in the forefront. And we should be taking that guidance and leadership from you, and you should be building the ownership in a way that means that, yes, there will be other projects, but almost without other projects, you are also succeeding. And the litmus test is that you don't need a PBF 2.0 to come on top of this, except where, to quote Melody, we are learning lessons and then trying to fix some of the gaps. The project itself is intricately linked to other UN initiatives, and thank you for making that point earlier. Projects such as the Salient Fund, which will be implemented by UNDP and UNODC, which is really looking at small arms and making sure that small arms are not proliferating. This is a key part of peace. The Atlantic Corridor Program, implemented by UNDP, and the upcoming program to be implemented by UNICEF and UNDP on localization, which is really saying, how do you localize and bring the Sustainable Development Goals to the ground together? These projects collectively aim to combat the proliferation of small arms, enhance social cohesion, empower women and youth, and prevent violent extremism. Additionally, there are projects that support the government of Ghana's efforts to address localized conflict and violent extremism And some of those come from the government themselves. The See Something, Say Something program that is a part of the national strategy on security. The World Bank funded SOCO project, which my colleagues have already mentioned, that is implemented by the Ministry of Local Government and needs to connect with this. There are other programs. The Gulf of Guinea program, which involves UNICEF, the World Food Program, WFP, IOM, and UNHCR, the Refugee Agency, as well as IOM's existing border security program. It is the collectiveness of all of these programs that will actually lead us to peace and success. And so I implore upon you again to see the interconnectedness. And for you, those working on the ground, and those of you who are really in the thick of this, to demand that accountability from us, that we are working together, that we don't have siloed programs that don't connect with each other, and therefore the benefits don't come collectively together. That's how you not only have a police post, but also a community able to maximize the use of that police force, and a police force that feels empowered, a part of the community able to guarantee peace and security. Let me express again my sincere gratitude to the Peace Building Fund and to all of those who are on the high table. We thank the government of Ghana, all the different actors, the ministries, the Peace Council, those of you at the regional level, district assemblies, CSOs, youth groups, traditional leaders, for your acceptance and cooperation in hosting these projects within your communities. They belong to you. A final word on the upcoming 2024 elections. There are heightened tensions, but Ghana comes from a very good place. You have, if not the best, the second best democracy on this continent. So you should be very proud of it, and you should protect it in this upcoming election. And yes, there must be disagreement, otherwise why are there two political parties? There must be disagreement. But at the end of the day, that must be conducted within the confines of certain principles and rules of the game that mean that at the end of the day, we are all striving for one. The UN has something called the I Pledge for Peace. We run it in collaboration with the National Peace Council, and I urge all of you to participate fully in this campaign. That whatever the differences you have, they are not so insurmountable that they cannot be resolved through dialogue and discussion, and they do not require violence to address. We approach December the 7th full of confidence, full of hope. Earlier this week too, I also met with the Electoral Commissioner and gave her the assurances that we are here to support. And I think we should all be confident, and confidence is an attitude that when it's projected, creates positivity. So across the country, we wish you the best in this upcoming election. We want to continue to see Ghana as one of the bastions of democracy and something that makes us all proud on this continent of what we achieve. So please, Godspeed, no violence, pledge for peace in the upcoming election. On the basis of this, and having heard all the different stories that we've already heard about this program, formal launch of this program, I know, and let me congratulate the program team, that you've already